foremost and most important in any strategy of deterrence is to have that stronger alliance. So
Do you have direct input when you're talking about being able to integrate with services? Do you have input on the training and equipping them for the Indo-Pacific?
certainly on our soft forces, I do. I have direct responsibility, statutory responsibility to ensure that our soft members are trained and adequate to the missions that they'll be presented with.
To integrate with services?
Well, to do our missions, and part of our mission is to integrate with the service, so yes.
Okay, thank you. We've seen our adversaries increasingly coordinate, especially on malign activity. So how is SOCOM working to strengthen relationships with our allies and our partners, which you talked about earlier, but both in terms of building up, first of all, our capabilities with them, but also their own capabilities, and when you work on those combined training exercises?
Senator, of course, the first level in a relationship is trust, the most basic essence, and that trust comes from credibility. Our relationships over generations help us to give that credibility, bring that credibility and that trust. I might pick just one as an example, the country of the Philippines, where for 100 years, over 100 years now, we've had an institutional relationship as a nation. But just since 2016 and our partnership on island to help the Philippine Armed Forces clear Marawi, one of their principal cities, of the threat from ISIS, has given us great ability to stretch across turbulent political and diplomatic times to today, where we are able to use that credibility, help them see and share information with them through some new relationship dynamics to understand the threats to their sovereign territory. And so that sharing of information is a critical aspect to allow them to take action for their own problems in the information and the competition space.
I'm sure you've had a number of opportunities there in the Indo-Pacific to work on having that greater collaboration with our partner forces. I was interested in your view on the exercises that took place with Cold Response 26, looking at Norway and Finland, an entirely different environment, I'd say.
Yes, ma'am. I'll speak more generally, and I don't want to get ahead of my good friend General Grinkovich there, who of course oversees those. But from a soft perspective, our partnership with our Scandinavian and European and NATO allies has always been critical. Of course, for the last 25 years, a lot of focus for us in the Middle East. Not as many snow-capped mountains to work in as in the high north. And so as we re-enter into that area, working with our Scandinavian partners has brought an awful lot of reprisal of old skills back. And so we are deepening those, and I think that partnership, not just in the on the land, but in the maritime domain, is a critical component to what we will offer to NATO for future deterrence.
Good to hear. Ms. Sutton, how will Cybercom 2.0 enable the department to better adapt to the evolving technological landscape when we look at AI? That's kind of what the question is that Senator Reid, I think, was going to send you.
So as technology continues to move at a tremendous speed, one of the gaps we're seeing in the force is the ability to get our force, after they've made it through the service basic training, to have training available at the speed of need to address some of these technologies. So, for example, someone might have made it through their basic training. How do we provide training for them on cloud, AI, on SCADA systems, other specialized things we're going to need? One of the enablers of Cyber Command 2.0 is creation of an advanced cyber training and education center, which is not going to be a brick and mortar institution that builds courses sort of the traditional way, but is looking at how we leverage industry and academia to have training available for our active force to be able to get at closing those skill gaps as technology continues to move quickly. Let's leverage the training that's available in industry that's moving at that speed as well.
Thank you. I will have a question for General Redd for the record when we look at CyberCon 2.0 and specifically for the Indo-Pacific. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Fisher, Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you, Senator Wicker. Thank you all for being here. And again, as I expressed this morning, thank you all for your service. In our closed session, we discussed a number of the questions I'd like to raise. Now, first, I think our cooperation with Ukraine is tremendously important. I'm regretful that we are, in my view, failing to provide all of the support that we should militarily. I am working hard on a Russia sanctions bill that I hope will help economically stop the flow of revenue to Putin's war machine from purchasers of Russian oil and gas. And intelligence sharing has been tremendously important to Ukraine in pushing back, and I think impressively, on Russia's assault, the false narrative that Russia is winning. I've tried to counter based on my trips to Ukraine, 10 in all, most recently in February, where I saw really the progress that Ukraine is making, contrary to some of the propaganda that Russia is spreading about how they are winning. But I'd like to ask this panel, maybe beginning with General Rudd, whether our intelligence sharing is continuing in a robust way as it has been in the past, which I think has been tremendously important, to the extent you can comment in this setting.
Thanks, Senator Blumenthal. As we discussed previously, the focus and attention on a variety of priorities and efforts remains steady. We move in an agile manner to various crisis and/or efforts, but we maintain focus and pressure on that. And so our support through European Command from an intelligence perspective in support of that effort remains intact. We're looking consistently and making sure that we have the right resources and folks focused on that, and working very closely with General Grinkovich on that.
I hope that our military command will let us know if there's any change in that approach and policy, because I think that the American people deserve to know if there is a reduction or diminution in our intelligence commitment. Admiral Bradley, if you could tell us a bit about the lessons learned from Ukraine.